this room once a month at the 1 o'clock on the fourth Monday, and it's always on a topic of interest to older adults. Hence the idea of housing today. We think about what are our housing options, and we're going to get into that just a little bit more. But I want to thank in particular the County of San Mateo and representatives in the City of Half Moon Bay for being here today to talk about housing in the city and the county, in particular ADUs or accessory dwelling units. And someone said to me today, "What's that?" She never heard of it. I'm interested in it, so I think everybody must know what that is. But some people call them granny flats, other people call them up over the garage, I guess. So today's program is actually printed on that handout, and most importantly, if you turn it over, there are lots of resources for short-term resources and nonprofit and private. And a lot of people have passed these on to us. It's really very interesting. Not every single one of them applies to the Coastside. Like one is in San Francisco, I think, but they're all examples, and I'm sure Laura knows about all of them, and she's going to speak to us very, very soon. But let's just talk about if you're a homeowner and thinking ahead to your next stage of life, or if you're already there, like I am, you're probably familiar with the idea of aging in place. You might be considering a renovation project to help you stay in your home. You're not alone. According to AARP, about 76% of Americans hope to remain in their homes, and just as many hope to remain in their neighborhoods for as long as possible. But we need more than just renovations to age in place successfully. We'll still have a long to-do list. Just one example, you need to plan ahead now so you can manage maintenance and care for your home and for yourself as you age and face health challenges. So what are our local options when our houses get too big, expensive, and hard to maintain? We don't have many downsizing options, do we? It's hard to even afford a smaller house on the coastside, even find one. Even Kenyatta Cove has become too expensive for many people. There are very few condos, apartments, or townhouses, and only a handful are accessible if you can't do the stairs. Our local senior housing campus on Main Street, Half Moon Bay, is open only to income-eligible seniors. If we own a house, that means we're middle class and not eligible for affordable housing. In any case, there's no room, and it's completely full, and the waiting list is closed, and it's probably 7 years long. So the Village of the Coastside, which by the way is a virtual village and not a place, is part of the National Village Movement. Nationally and locally, we're aware of these aging in place issues, which are basically the same but somewhat different across the country. And we're especially aware of the importance of social fabric in our lives. It's just important to have a network of support among friends and neighbors as it is to understand our retirement finances or to install handrails in the bathroom. We have more than 90 members of the Village of the Coastside. We encourage them to establish strong ties by being engaged in the community, volunteering, just enjoying casual conversations over coffee or dinner, or visiting a museum together. You won't age in place well if you're isolated and alone. A reality you don't want to overlook as you consider your housing and financial options. There are lots of different reasons for wanting to home share, among them economic, social, health, and support. Now let me introduce Laura Fanucci, Associate Executive Director of HIP Housing in San Mateo. And Laura will be followed by presentations by the County of San Mateo and then the City of Half Moon Bay, with lots of time for Q&A and for tabling, and we want to be comfortable and casual. So feel, free to move your chairs around if you can see better, to ask plenty of questions. And the city and county want to hear from you. What are your concerns and questions? Thanks so much, everybody. Laura? Don't trip over the wire, Laura. Did you catch that on camera? Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Great, thank you. I'm Laura Fanucchi. Thank you so much, Judy, for the introduction and for inviting me to your beautiful city today. It's such a gorgeous day here in Half Moon Bay with a beautiful new library. We're so fortunate to live here in San Mateo County, but we know for many people, especially seniors, it's a real challenge here in our community to be able to find something affordable, an affordable housing solution. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about HIP housing. We have 3 housing programs. I'm going to talk mostly about our home sharing program, but I do want to mention our other 2. It's a way of introduction to our organization. HIP Housing is a nonprofit that's been in our community since 1972. We've been creating affordable housing solutions for our community here in San Mateo County. We all know of the housing challenges here in our county. Judy alluded to long affordable housing waiting lists. We have limited buildable space here in San Mateo County. Our rents are astronomically high. The job growth is tremendous, but the need for housing is really very dire here in our community. HIP Housing's programs help to provide a variety of resources. We have an information and referral component to our program where we field about 3,500 calls a year from people in the community that want to either know about our programs or about understanding the affordable housing landscape in San Mateo County. HIP Housing also owns and manages over 17 below market and affordable housing properties throughout the county, providing housing to over 650 individuals every year. We have a self-sufficiency program for low-income families with children, providing housing to over 100 adults and children. And our home sharing program, which I'm speaking mostly about today, provides housing to about 650 people a year here in our community. Here's Sue Kallstrom, our office manager. She fields over 3,500 calls a year. It's amazing. Over nearly 200 of them are from individuals here on the coast side. So what we do is we talk to people about their housing concerns and help them to develop some strategies in order to look for affordable housing here in our community, whether that's one of the housing's programs or referring them to other community partners through the county or through the shelters programs or through other nonprofits, many of which are on your resource list as well. I wanted to mention our property division because we own and manage 17 properties throughout San Mateo County, but our largest properties are actually 3 senior housing developments. We have a 92-unit senior housing complex called Edgewater Isle in San Mateo area that is considered a project-based Section 8 property. So the rents are subsidized by the county's Department of Housing, and the tenants who qualify based on their income spend about roughly 1/3 of their incomes on rent. We also manage 2 senior housing complexes for the Rotary Club of San Mateo, so Rotary Hacienda and Rotary Floridas. So these provides housing to nearly 200 low-income seniors in the city of San Mateo. On the coast here, we're working on what we call a compliance project. So we are entering into a new industry in our work, which is working with market rate developers that have inclusionary affordable housing units. So our first contract is with a property in Pacifica through Marymount, which is called Gateway Plaza. And we are managing, we are doing the income certification for their 26 affordable housing units. So we're making sure that those units stay affordable for the clients who are living in them. 8 of our properties have a Section 8 contract, which is supported by the county's Department of Housing. So again, roughly those tenants pay about 1/3 of their income on housing costs. And these are some photos of some of our properties. We mostly have studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. And we are in the process, we're in escrow right now for the purchase of our 18th property in Redwood City on Rollison Road. Those are all studio apartments and they're all considered affordable. HIP Housing also offers a self-sufficiency program for low-income families with children. And the reason I want to bring this up today is because we have seniors who participate in this program. We have many seniors who are raising their grandchildren and they are needing housing. We also have single-parent families or two-parent families where the parent has their parent living with them as well. So we have an intergenerational kind of match that's going on in our self-sufficiency program. So this is a model welfare to work program that works with low-income families with children. The parents can be working, but they also have to be in school or doing job training, and we help to support their housing costs for a year to 5 years. All the families are referred by a community partner, and they receive case management support and life skills workshops through our case managers. We support their housing. Either they live independently in a unit that they find on their own, and we help to subsidize their rent for a year to 5 years. Or we have some families that are sharing one of our 4 group share properties. We have 2 homes in Redwood City, 1 home in San Carlos, and 1 home in Menlo Park. And these are all essentially 4 to 6 bedroom houses. The rents are supported by the county's Department of Housing, and usually have 2 to 3 families share the properties at any given time. Their rents are very low, which is very grateful for the county's support for that. And it gives families the opportunity to build on their career and educational goals so that when they graduate from the program, they not only have the skills necessary to become economically self-sufficient, but they also have a permanent housing strategy that we start working on with the families right at the start of our program. So we have about 100 individuals and children that are participating in that. I'm here today to talk about home sharing, okay? When people think about home sharing, they think about a variety of things, right? Sometimes society remembers home sharing about when they were back in college and sharing with college roommates. Of course, the media often thinks about home sharing with the Golden Girls. We get a lot of media requests. They want to find that Golden Girl match and interview them. But sometimes people have some negative connotations about when they think about home sharing. Like they think more about maybe some of the problems, like what happens if they don't get along, what happens if something should happen, or what happens if they need to have the person move, so some of those negative things. But we at HIP Housing know that with the right tools and resources, how to interview people, how to screen individuals, how to formulate an agreement together, and then how to have a conversation if things may or not be going well, and ask for our support, that things can go very, very well. So I want to share with you a short video about some of our clients.
Housing really specializes in very creative solutions. Housing really specializes in very creative solutions. So we're always looking for the way to want housing blocks. How can we make them happen fast and make them happen in a meaningful way? With
Okay, that did not work.
Turn the lights down a little.
Do we need help? I'll get it for Francisco.
For some reason, it's not linking to my presentation. Well, maybe we can watch that at the end. We'll keep going. Okay. Actually, what I would like to do is I had planned to invite one of our home sharing providers who lives in Montera. She wasn't able to come today. She's a senior, and she's been sharing her home with a housemate. She's had 2 different housemates live with her over the last couple of years. And she's self-employed. She works from home. And she says, I love having Miguel as my housemate. Miguel was living with one of our home sharing providers on the coast, and she decided to sell her home and leave the area. And then Miguel went to take care of his father in Sacramento, and then when his father passed away, he moved in with our house, with our tenant here in Montera. So she says, I love having Miguel as my housemate. It's nice to share your home with someone. It's nice knowing that I can travel without worrying about my home. He will water my indoor plants when I'm not home, take the garbage out. He will even put my laundry from the washer to dryer and then into the hamper, and I do the same for him. In September, it will be 2 years for him here. We get along really well. We both have crazy busy schedules. Once in a while, we will eat together and visit and play catch up. And once in a while, I will find chocolates on the kitchen counter or something that I like to eat from him and vice versa. I really love having a housemate. So that's just one of our lovely success stories here out on the coast. So home sharing is really considered more of a long-term housing solution versus like a short-term rental solution. Sometimes you hear about the term home sharing in relationship to like Airbnb, but we at Hip Housing feel that our home sharing program is really more long-term. Some matches do last a short period of time, and all of our rental contracts are month to month. But on average, our home sharing matches last about 3 years. What's really great about using a home sharing program is that it turns existing housing stock into new, creative, affordable housing solutions. We already have homes with empty space available. We want to put those rooms really to good use. All of our clients have they have a private bathroom, private bedroom, not private bathroom, private bedroom, sometimes private bathroom, sometimes shared bathroom. And occasionally we'll have clients that have accessory dwelling units as well. So the separate unit, either detached from the home or downstairs from the home. The majority of our arrangements are a homeowner that has extra space available. The two kinds of matches that we facilitate are a rent exchange, where the home seeker moves in and pays rent. We generally see our lower rents in the North County and here on the coast, from Half Moon Bay to Pacifica. And then we have some matches that involve what we call a reduced rent exchange, where it's usually a senior who needs a little extra household chores or support at home, and the housemate still pays rent, but they exchange basic household chores like help with cooking or cleaning or doing errands or sometimes pet care for that lower rent. Here on the coast, we have about 48 clients who are participating in the program, anywhere from Pescadero to Pacifica. The majority of our home providers are seniors. We have about 50 to 60% of our clients who have the space available are seniors. And our home seekers range from single persons, couples, maybe a single person with a child. They can be a senior themselves, they can be working. We have some students, we have some emancipated foster youth that are participating in our program. All of our home seekers have to have a connection to our county. So they either have to live, work, or attend school in San Mateo County. In a given year, we have about 1,200 households that sign up for our program, and we have about 650 people who are in matches, whether newly formed or those that have been going on for many, many years. We have one match in Millbrae that's been going on for over almost 25 years now. So for many people, this is a way of life for them to be able to afford their housing. We hear a lot from our seniors who are seeking housing. We have a lot of clients who have been in stable housing for many years, and something has happened to the individual that they're living with. Either that person has decided to sell and leave the area, or they may want to remodel and raise their rent, or they might need that person's room back for a family member who cannot find housing. So these are some of the stories that we hear from our home seekers. We have some seniors who are needing housing who prefer to be in their vehicle rather than being in a shelter. Obviously, they really want to be able to stay here in our community, next to their connections, their family, their friends, and sometimes their work as well. But as Judy mentioned, a huge percentage of our seniors, according to AARP, want to be able to remain in age and place. And for many who have housing challenges of their own, having a housemate move in can not only help economically, but also to help to provide that extra support in the home. Our program personally interviews every applicant that applies to the program. So we have an interview that happens, an application that's completed. We do a San Mateo County background search, a national sex offender database search. We ask for income verifications from all of our home seekers, and we ask for 3 character references from all of our home providers and our home seekers. We like to give clients the opportunity to be able to check references of each other. The way our program works is we provide a resource tool to help clients with conversations of what they're going to be talking about with a potential housemate when they're first making that initial phone call, when they actually meet in person. Sometimes they meet at the home provider's home, sometimes they meet at a neutral place first, but they may need some tools and resources on how to start all those conversations and what questions to ask. So we have a whole resource guide to that. And then we encourage everybody to check each other's references before making their own decision about who they want to share housing with. We help clients complete a living together agreement, so it acts as a lease. So we talk about what the rent is, the share of cost of utilities, or if the utilities are included, or if there's any kinds of extra household chores that are going to be exchanged for that lower rent. We talk about that as well. But then we also talk about anything that's involved with sharing housing together, from cleanliness to pet care to quiet times and noise levels, to anything that's involved with living together. We put in this agreement, and it helps us to have an understanding of what both parties have agreed to. For all of our matches, we provide a lot of follow-up support. So for all of our matches involving seniors, we check in with them every 3 months for the duration of their match. We want to know how things are going. We talk to the home provider and we talk to the home seeker to see how things are going with their home sharing match. So we provide a lot of follow-up support. The benefits of home sharing obviously are numerous. It promotes a lot of financial independence, allows people to remain aging in place. It allows our workforce to stay local. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people that commute into our county every day for work. And if they could live more locally, it would help to reduce that congestion and to have people have a better quality of life of living closer to work. We recently helped place a employee at Sequoia Hospital who was commuting all the way from Brentwood every single day to Redwood City. So reducing that quality of life of being on the road so much during the day and in the evening on the way home really started to affect her health because she didn't have time to exercise, had to get up so early in the morning and drive, be at work all day, drive home. By the time she gets home, she's tired, right? So now she's living in Burlingame and commuting about 15 minutes to work. So just that whole, just being closer to her place of work, giving her a new outlet of life. Obviously, we have a challenge here in terms of the cost of building new housing. Home sharing uses existing housing stock. And we like to think that one spare room can help change 2 lives. So these are some demographics of some of our home providers who are matched, most of our seniors. 66% of our home providers who are in matches are seniors. 78% of them are single females. Their average income, $44,000 a year. The average rent they were charging was $856 a month. And the percentage of their income that they were spending on housing before having a housemate was 40% of their income. So they say that your housing costs are affordable when you're spending no more than 30% of your income on their housing costs. Our home seekers, 26% of them were seniors, 50% single females. Their average income, $39,000. 65% of them were homeless or at risk of homelessness when they applied to our program. And by home sharing, it helps to reduce their housing costs to 27% of their income, much more affordable. We are also part of a larger network through the National Shared Housing Resource Center that provides information and resources to individuals and organizations and government entities on home sharing. So we get a lot of technical assistance calls from, I've had a call recently from the city of Alameda, also in Kern County. They want to implement home sharing programs in their community because they know this is a very cost-effective way to increase the housing supply of affordable housing. And then more locally, we actually have about 19 home sharing programs in California, in northern and in southern California. Home Match SF is listed on your resource sheet. They have a home sharing program in San Francisco, and then there's other home sharing programs in the East Bay, in the North Bay, in Santa Cruz County, down to San Luis Obispo, and then also in Southern California. So when people inquire about home sharing program, we can provide them with information about all the home sharing programs throughout the state. So that concludes my presentation. I'm sorry my video did not work, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And for members of the audience who are watching on this film later, our website address is hiphousing.org. And thank you very much for your time this afternoon. If you want to take questions now or later, or?
Can do it now.
Okay.
Does one have to go over the hill for an interview?
No, we can actually come over here to do a home visit and talk with folks here. We're actually really would love to establish an outpost office here on the coast. We have, our main office is in San Mateo, but we have an outpost office in Daly City, at the Daly City Community Center, South San Francisco Senior Center, and then in Redwood City at the Fair Oaks Community Center. But we would really love to have a presence here on the coast, so that's going to be one of our goals in the next couple of months.
Laura, can you tell us more about kind of the contract or agreement that the homeowner, what kinds of things could the homeowner ask for instance?
So when we start our interviews from the very start with our home providers, we talk to them about the space that they have to offer. So we're talking to them about like the room, is it furnished, is it unfurnished, what does the kitchen space look like in terms of what can be shared, is there laundry facilities? So a lot of those questions we talk about at the very start. We also ask questions about their preference for somebody who smokes or doesn't smoke, animals, pets, and then also whether the parking situation is like. So we talk about a lot of those up front. And then the living together agreement really talks a lot about, again, like the rent, the utility share. Some home providers like to include the utilities, but we also like to talk to the home provider, like if they might be home all day long and their housemate is out working or is out quite a bit, we may encourage them to include the utilities in the rent. So we have a lot of conversations about that. But then we're also talking about like, visitors, overnight guests, pets, how much furniture can be brought in. So a lot of those things that are involved with living together. And then especially if the home provider needs some extra support in the home, what does that look like? So our program does not focus on helping individuals that might need like hands-on personal care. It's more about extra household support. So if we have a home provider that might need a little extra support along those lines for medical care, we may encourage them to find a housemate to move in to help reduce like the cost of maybe hiring somebody to come in and do that extra source of support for the more personal care. So we're having a lot of conversations with clients about that.
Is there a charge for the home providers or the?
No, we do not charge for any of our housing programs. So the rent that the home seeker pays goes directly to the home provider, so we're not involved in the transaction of the rent or the share cost of utilities.
Also, how about, do you give any guidance in terms of how to discuss the use of cannabis or alcohol?
Right. So part of our screening process is we ask clients to complete a questionnaire about their lifestyle. And so one of the questions we ask is about their attitudes towards drinking, attitudes towards smoking, and what they do smoke in terms of cannabis or cigarettes or whatnot. So we have a lot of that profile already, and we have a database that helps to sort of screen that out amongst like the system that sort of matches people based on smoking, pets, furnished room, unfurnished room, private bath, location. So, and part of our resource packet for what questions we want clients to go over with each other is about those questions as well. So we encourage them to have conversations about use of alcohol or use of cannabis or any other kind, other cigarettes or anything. If they want to smoke outside or inside, we have all those conversations.
Do you ever do like sleepover tests?
I
question is, if we do we ever sleepover tests? So some home providers will want to do a trial to see how it works. The challenge with that is that we find a lot of our home seekers don't have the ability to really do that. You know, they may not have a place that they can go back to, you know, right away if the situation doesn't work out. So that's why we really encourage people to take the time up front to really talk and get those questions answered. And that home provider, we ask that all of our home seekers provide a housing related reference. So either like a current landlord or somebody who knows them in terms of their housing. So we encourage the home provider to make those reference calls to make sure that it's going to be a good match for them. So we don't have many situations like that, but where that does tend to happen, especially with the reduced rent exchanges, because those are a little bit more involved, where somebody's providing extra support. So you want to make sure that that's, you know, it's a little bit different than kind of just a regular sort of housemaid situation.
Laura, I've had people mention to me that they would feel strange about rejecting someone. How do people handle that?
You know, we let clients know from the very start that this is their decision, mutually decided about who they want to share with. So our home providers they know that they may be interviewing a variety of people, and it's a very personal situation living together. You want to feel safe with the person in your home, you want to feel compatible, you want to make sure that it's a good match for you. So sometimes, you know, home providers will just say, you know, I decided to select somebody else, and we will continue to work with that home seeker, you know, until we find a placement for them or connect them to other resources that might be able to assist them, you know, with their housing. So it's a personal relationship, and you want to make sure you have a good match.
What about liability? If you bring somebody into your house and something happens, fall or something like that, is there any guidelines on that?
So the liability question does come up. You know, we've been very, very fortunate that we have had very few matches involving any kind of concern about somebody being hurt in the home or something being stolen from the home. So, you know, we obviously, things can happen when you're living with somebody, but we always feel that because we're involved in the match and the referral process and the follow-up support, that we provide an extra layer to help people along that process. So we've been lucky that way, and so we're hopeful that things will continue that way. And I think, you know, if there's extra homeowners insurance, that we often encourage people to look into that. If there's a situation, we encourage our home seekers to get renters insurance so that they're protected as well.
I was wondering if people who wouldn't qualify with regard to their income, could we have access to your questionnaire or your agreement? Because that sounds like it would be a very good thing to have.
So the question is about if people would not qualify for our home sharing program based on their income. And actually, we don't have an income requirement for our home sharing program. For our properties and for our self-sufficiency program for families with children, there is an income component to it. But for our home sharing program, we don't have an income qualification. So we have clients that have higher incomes that participate. They still have a financial need to have support in the home. So there's no income qualifications for that. We do get funding from the county and several cities in the county to serve clients of a particular income level, and we report to them on those clients. But we don't turn away people based on their income.
If there's the agreement between the two parties and they find that one or the other is not working, how is that handled?
So the question is about the agreement. So if for some reason one party wants to terminate the match, how does that work? So we first want to talk with both parties to see why the match is ending. There may be, you know, sometimes there's lifestyle differences. Sometimes the home seeker may have decided to leave the area, or their work has taken them out of the area. So there's a variety of reasons why people may need to move. Sometimes the home provider may need a little bit more care in the home, and they need that move back for a caregiver who can So it's generally a month-to-month agreement, although if the client has been there for more than 60 days, for more than a year, we do encourage a 60-day notice. And so we're talking with both clients about how we can either assist them again, or if one party has decided to leave the area, then we provide, extra resources and support to them. So it's very, very rare that a home sharing match home seeker would not move out, in terms of like the home provider needing to go through like a formal court eviction. We've had very few matches that happen that way, and I think that's because we are involved in talking with both parties ongoing and have a presence